I want to talk to those of you that own a professional services firm. One of the largest categories of businesses that we work with in the Maui community are professional services practices, the medical offices, the legal offices, the engineering or accounting firms that we work with. These are the businesses that are based on a really very high level of expertise, and you more than anybody else have to watch out for the self-employment trap. Because there's a tendency to build a professional services firm based around the production and the mental acuity, the experience set of the actual owner of the business more than any other, there's a common challenge of how do you scale a business when the know-how, the knowledge is all dependent upon the owner or maybe one or two key producers in the business. How do you get beyond there? And when you do, how do you deal with the number one expense and manage and control that? The expense of staff, especially when it's the expense of professional staff. You know, for you, one of the most important numbers to look at, to measure and monitor is what we call your utilization rate. How effective are you at utilizing your staff? I mean, one of the professional services firms we were working with, when they finally measured it based on our coaching, because they weren't before, they found that they were paying their staff for 40 hours, 45-hour per week averages, and yet at the same time, they were only leveraging them or using them less than 40% of the time. That's a lot of extra overhead that they carried. They had a couple of choices. They could work harder on scaling the sales side to be able to bring in and produce more business, or they could have actually cut back on staffing and condensed that, where they could have gone from 6 down to probably 4 and had a utilization rate somewhere between about 60 and 75%, which for a pure professional staff is a better utilization rate, depending on if you're medical or engineering or legal or accounting and so forth. My point being this, do you even measure the utilization rate of your staff? How many other hours are actually spent doing either billable or direct revenue generating activities? Always there's going to be some kind of administrative or operational parts of the work in addition to that, and some of the sales and marketing work, but your staff that really are your heavy lifters for producing on your service offering, how well are you doing at utilizing them to the best of abilities? That's one place I want you to look. In addition, for many of our business coaching clients, we help them to build expert systems that will help take the specialized knowledge of people in the business, especially the owner, and to put it down into a codified system that can now control costs, can increase consistency and reliability, can increase production capacity 25%, 50%. One of the medical offices we work with, they put into practice through our coaching an expert system for how they do for pre-op surgical procedures. It increased their capacity by over 300%. At the same time, it reduced their cost in that area of their business by close to half. Wow, 300% increase in production, reducing by half their cost for that area of the business. Huge, huge increase to the bottom line because their pricing didn't change at all. Unless you think that their patients might be upset with that, their patients actually got a higher level of service perceived by them, and in reality they felt it was a higher value service because of that. So further than that, you know, you're going to also have to now get into areas, how do you generate more clients? Certainly if you're a professional services firm, with the increased capacity, how do you generate more clients is an issue for you, a challenge for you. You know, one of the things that we've worked with clients on lead generation and lead conversion on, how do you do that in a systematic way, in a way that you can control so that over time, it's not just a one-off activity, but you have a consistency, a reliability about that process. You know, for example, one of the medical offices we work with, we will help them to put into practice a simple reactivation system that when they would call back through past patients, they found they could get a 25% conversion rate to bring in past patients for another office visit for this elective procedure that they had. Really powerful result, helped them grow their practice by over 30% in that location in the first 12 months after doing it. So when you think about growing and generating more business, more clients, whether it's a patient or someone you call a client, you know, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, or an engineer, or some other type of professional services firm, what you're going to find is that it's not just enough to generate more leads. Many of the professional services firms we work with have plenty of leads. What they don't have is they have no reliable process for lead conversion. You know, I'm thinking of one of the chiropractors that we work with. She's got a very successful practice up in the Bay Area of California. And Patricia is very good herself at, when she meets with a new patient, does the initial evaluation, to actually working to convert them to accept the treatment plan that she lays out. However, it's not so easy to train the other doctors in her office to have the same conversion rate. Well, over the course of 4 months of working together, we helped her to build out that baseline conversion process so that she could have the docs in her office to be able to do the same thing that she did, to get a high level of conversion from those new early patient visits. So it's not just about the generation of leads, it's also about the conversion of leads. And how do you do that in a way that's systematic, replicable, and you can measure and monitor it over time so that you can count on it for the revenue it creates for your business. And if that wasn't enough, you take one of the other issues that you as a professional services firms need to look at. Look, if it's just you and you're doing $100,000 a year in business, probably your collections practices aren't a big deal. However, as you start to grow past $250,000, $500,000, certainly when you reach the $1 million mark, that period of time before you reach 5 or 10 million in revenue, I'll tell you that one of the things that kills professional services firms are poor accounts receivable collections practices. Either they miss collecting money that they're owed, and it's been our experience working with thousands of other professional services firms that typically we can help them find 5 to 15% of their gross billings that they're not even invoicing for properly, or if they're invoicing for properly, they're not collecting on. And if they're not collecting on it, they're not doing it on a timely basis. Think about that. 5 to 15% of your gross revenue is disappearing likely if we look at it closely, and that's gross. Think what that means for your net profit, because you've already paid all of your expenses. That's money that would travel directly into your bottom line for you and for your partners in your practice. That's huge. That might represent 10, 30, 50% or more of your net profit disappearing because of poor receivable systems. One of the firms that we work with, $67,000 within the first 6 months of working together, we found that they'd never even billed for. Or you take one of the other medical testing companies that we work with, a knowledge-based company on the East Coast, Wayne. They found over $800,000 of increased cash flow simply by tightening up and revamping, redoing their collection system so that they got that money. And even if you're doing great on collecting the money, how are you doing about getting it on a timely basis? Are your receivables sliding to 60, 90, 120 days or longer? We want to work with you to speed up that collection cycle, because what it does is it helps you increase your sustainable growth rate. It allows you to grow the business without having the same cash flow challenges that you'll have if you allow that collections practice, that cycle, to drag and delay. So these are all reasons why, if you're a professional services firm, we really want to encourage you, take advantage of all the resources here on the MauiMastermind.com website. And if we can ever be of service to you to help you look closely at your business to grow it faster, let us know. We'd be more than happy to do a complimentary one-to-one strategic coaching session on your business with one of our coaching team members. Let's look at it. Let's see in your practice, where are the real leverage points? What are the bottlenecks that are costing your business tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or potentially even millions of dollars? And what concrete suggestions can we give you? We've learned that over the years that by doing sessions like this, we found many of our most successful clients came to us because of the value they received from doing a complimentary session. So please explore the site, take advantage of the resources there, and if it's appropriate, reach out to us and allow us together to work with you on your company to help you build and grow your practice, not just to settle for what's always been, but to build it so it's less reliant on you, more scalable, more enjoyable to own. In essence, to build it as a business versus a self-employed job. Thank you for being part of the Maui community of business owners, and I look forward to the time we get to meet in person.